Good morning. Happy Monday. Monday, right? There we go. We are all set up. Ready to roll. Literally, right? We got some eyeballs to draw. Different points of view. A tutorial by someone named Mai Lu, I think it is. Yeah, Mai Yu Lee. Art. Cartoony eyes, but drawn at different angles, which I think is helpful. Again, reposted by the Etherington brothers. It's nice because they have like a diagrammatic view and then they have the kind of overdrawing on top. So let's see how that rolls. So do I remember you? I don't know. Your name doesn't look familiar. But thank you for coming in. I wish I could remember all of the names. Let's see, that comes up. That comes down. Good, Martin. Yeah, so looking at how to do other people's tutorials just to kind of see how it goes. So she does like the little sights through here. Good morning. Everybody popping in. So let's see, there's that one. And then there's the actual drawn one here below. You got your diagrammatic view. Got a sleepy dog under my feet. Good morning, Justine. It's got to be bright and early in Hong Kong, right? We're gonna have dinner soon. Oh, breakfast for dinner, huh? Have some waffles and pancakes for dinner, right? Let's see. Here comes down around. It's a little cropping of something here of a face. A little more cartoony eyes than I would normally draw, but you know. I used to have lived in New York where our roommates, we would do a little party. We'd have every so often we call it breakfast for dinner. And so everybody would bring breakfast and pancakes and waffles and cereal and orange juice and all that stuff for a dinner. Called it breakfast for dinner. Everybody thought it was hilarious. It's my idea. Because I'm hilarious. Sometimes. Perspective on those eyes. I think one of the things we should have done with it though is encourage everybody to wear their pajamas or something like that. Eyeballs. Yeah. What are we doing here, Bosch? He's got up out of his blanket. Out checking out the window, huh? Anything good out the window? No? Nothing of interest? Regretting getting up now? Yeah, I took him to graduation last week. So he was there at the we were waiting outside for everybody. And so I took a bunch of pictures with him outside. I have a bunch of students I've been working with kind of as independent studies students here. And don't have any for the fall though, so I guess that's good. But had a bunch over the last few years, a couple of years since coming here. There's a little bit of hair cropping in here. Coming out over there. Cheek coming out there. Good morning. Retro outro. How are we rolling? Alright, next set of eyes. These ones are turned even more. So I think the idea is these ones are kind of tilted. You're looking up a little bit at these ones. Let's see, even more tilted. Let's see, yeah, it comes over here. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm just working off of the, like I said, the morning I've been working off of other people's studies. So these are notes or tutorials from other people. So this is someone named Mai Yu Lee. And it's been reposted by the Etherington brothers, and it's kind of eyes at different angles and views. So I thought that would be an interesting thing to look at this morning. So it's nice that they kind of repost these other people's tutorials. Kind of a curated list. And let's see, here's the actual view over here. Is close enough? I can push that in just a little bit more. So then here's the actual view. Nose comes out here. Yeah, so yes, if you go to the Etherington Brothers Instagram, they've been kind of reposting other people's tutorials in addition to their own. And so this is a recent one, I think from yesterday or something, that they reposted. They grab them from different places like, you know, Tumblr and Twitter and Instagram. But I thought this would be a good practice thing today to kind of warm up for the day. In theory, I have a 9:30 meeting I have to be ready for online. But we haven't seen a link for it yet, so it's supposed to be sharing student work. And I guess I can zoom in because I kind of know where I'm going to be working. There we go. Nice row of 3. And then we got the side eye view. And then we'll scoot this one over too. There we go. And then the side view. Yeah, so that's where I've got this one from. So I thought this would be a good idea. I mean, it's a good idea to just do this from like photographs too. But I thought it was interesting because it's a little stylized. So, yeah, definitely recommend checking out their stuff. Even just like sketching their tutorials would be a good idea. I did do a copy thing from one of their books a long time ago. Before I think I was doing the morning study thing online. So I just took one of their books and they've got a bunch of them. I was gonna order the newer ones, but they didn't have an option for me to get all caught up the way I wanted to, and so I opted to not. I even asked them about it. So I wanted to order the most recent 3 books, 6, 7, and 8, and they had an option for ordering 3. Was it 4, 5, and 6, and then there's another one for 7 and 8, but there wasn't one for 6, 7, and 8. And I was like, well, I would have done that one, but you didn't make it an option, so I thought I'd hold off on order, because they do like a new book pretty much every year when they do a Kickstarter in the spring. They do kind of these weird marketing things on their socials where they're like, sold out book, not available in bookstores, get on our secret email list, etc., etc. And like, there's nothing really secret about it, and sold out because they only sell it for a limited time. And so it's kind of a little a lot of marketing shtick going on, but which I guess is fine, but it's just like, it's a little bit much, I think, but the books are really great. Definitely recommend them to people. They're kind of short thoughts on drawing different kinds of subjects and different techniques related to them. But they've recently been kind of posting other people's tutorials too, which I think is kind of interesting. So that's what I'm looking at here. It's not theirs, but other people's. Yeah, they've got a ton of them, right? But they've been doing these books for a long time. I forget when the first one came out, but it feels like it was at least 10 years ago. The recent one didn't do their usual bigger numbers. I think the last one wasn't quite as big either. I think they're starting to run into the point where they're running into the limits of their potential market, maybe. It's been interesting too, because their social media doesn't get. I've been paying attention to it just because I'm kind of curious about how all these things work. But their social media doesn't get a lot of engagement, but they must have a really great email list that they've gotten people onto, which seems to be a lot of what their marketing effort is driving towards, is kind of getting people onto their email list. But yeah, they're definitely worth checking out if you haven't checked them out. But yeah, they've recently been reposting other people's stuff on their socials, so kind of giving shout outs to others and linking to them when they can. So there's a diagram, and then here's the actual one. But yeah. So again, I like to use the kind of the morning warm up as a study project. So I have different ones I've been looking at, and kind of get me going on the day. Yeah, well, that's just true in general, right? For marketing, right? If you get people to get on your email list, then they're way more likely to want to engage with your stuff, and if you put out some kind of product, they're more likely to buy it. Um, so it's definitely an important thing to pay attention to. Alright. How are we doing for time? 21? Alright. Alright, now we got another side view, but this time we're looking straight on, not up, but straight on, just eye level with this person. But I like one of the things I like about doing copy work is I've actually done a lot of copy work over the years. In fact, I've done it in museums. So when I was in grad school, we had a class in New York at the New York Academy of Art where we would go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and do copies at the museum, and it's a really great experience. Um, yeah, one thing I wish they would kind of do, I think would be really smart if they wanted to kind of up their sales, would be to have some kind of special opportunity if you did get on their email list. So like it doesn't really change anything. Like everyone finds out. There's no like special link or anything inside the email that gets you any kind of special access to anything. Or like some people they'll like I did the Skybound had the artist edition of Extremity that they did with Daniel Warren Johnson, and if you got on the email list, you got like a free pin as part of the thing if you did an order. So I got this little pin, a little nice enamel pin that came with it because I was on their email list. And of course, a really great artist edition of Daniel Warren Johnson's Extremity books. I forgot how big they were, so I didn't realize like when I ordered it was going to be this giant, massive tome that weighs a ton. I just didn't think about the size. I should have realized. I mean, it's obvious. You're dealing with full-sized, scanned-in comic book. So it's 11 by 17 images plus the border on there, and then it's every page of the comic book and the covers that he did for it. So it's huge. It's like picking up the Mazzucchelli Batman Year One book or something like that. But but yeah, they so some of them they'll do things where like they if you sign up for their whatever project, even if you haven't ordered anything yet, you have that opportunity to get a little extra something as a result of being on there. And they haven't done that, which I thought was interesting. So maybe it's like a thing where like they're holding back on doing certain things, so they don't have to pay for that or have that kind of to get in the way or whatever. So But yeah, I'm always curious to see how people are always marketing their stuff. I always find that to be an interesting thing. There's an interesting kind of news in the AI world, because I'm definitely kind of taking a stand against it at my university. And the Copyright Office just put out a thing, I think it was yesterday, the day before yesterday, but basically acknowledging that these AI systems, that they don't pass muster on any of the fair use arguments. So basically it's not sufficiently transformative, and it competes with the people that it's taking from. And those are like really big elements to something being fair use. So one of the big things with fair use is like it can't compete with the original work. So and so it's like one of the reasons why, like a few years ago, the Andy Warhol estate lost a lawsuit over some of his work. I think it was a photograph of an actress, and it was considered insufficiently transformative because he really just traced it. That was his whole thing. It was just tracing it. He wasn't really commenting on anything. It was just like tracing it and putting color on there. And so let's see. But so I thought that was kind of interesting. They put that out. Anyway, there was a couple other things they were pointing out in there about how it's not fair use. So how it takes from people, it's not sufficiently transformative, and it competes. There's one other thing too. I forget what it is off the top of my head. But but what happened that night after that report was put out, Trump fired him. So, take that for what you will, for what that means. But so but that could help, that report could help establish certain kinds of legal precedents. My guess is that whoever gets put in charge next will withdraw it, but it's still kind of out there right now. So, yeah, something worth kind of paying attention to. Alright, and another side eye over here. I'm going to try 30 minutes in. And I'll have to finish by a certain time. I'm curious to find out that we're supposed to have a meeting today where we're sharing kind of some of the students' work from the semester. And but we haven't received a link because it's supposed to be online, as far as I know. Alright. We will ink these and see how far that gets us. Shouldn't take too long to ink them, but save that last row after we ink these ones. So, yeah, but yeah, I do recommend the book study thing too. Like I've done a bunch of those books over the last few years. I spent a bunch of the fall just going through Tara Whitlatch's. I think it was Science of Creature Design. She's got 3 books. I've got all of them, but I think it was Science of Creature Design. A little bit too water added. I left my ink jar open, so I put some water in it this morning, and might put a little too much in there. But yeah. So, but yeah, I thought that was some interesting kind of news in that arena because I hear a lot of arguments about this stuff, and I know like for a lot of artists, like they've always kind of lived by this rule of thumb called the 20% rule. So as long as you change something 20%, like it's fair use, and that's never been true. I did talk to one artist friend. He was concerned that some of these things could lead to people not being able to work in certain styles or something like that. I don't think that's a legitimate concern, but that was something he was saying he was worried about. That, you know, if that becomes like the standard or something, then. But I don't think that's anybody's point. There are trademark concerns, like with certain kinds of style things. So if people are confusing what you're doing with someone who owns like a trademark of something, then that can be an issue. But so like when they were doing these Ghibli filters over everything recently, or I guess a month or so ago. Don't really see it as much anymore. I have been seeing some people using it in advertising online. But yeah, the thing is, it has to be transformative or like represent some kind of commentary or something like that. And so, like making fun of something or being some kind of commentary on something. Otherwise, it's like not really transformative. It's just replicative. And that was one of the things. Like if what I was saying is if like OpenAI had used that and kind of implied that this was a Ghibli filter, like if that's what they had said, they didn't say that, then it implies some kind of brand association with Studio Ghibli, which would then probably lead to legal issues with them. Still could lead to legal issues because of the training data, but I don't think because of the outputs. So I think that's where a lot of the kind of the battle around these issues is happening. It's not just the output, but the actual training data that's being used and how it's being used. Got more people popping in on my morning study. We're looking at me, you, Lee's little eyeballs here. This person drew. Don't know who they are, but it's nice to kind of see these different points of view on eyeballs. So yeah, but yeah, so hopefully we'll see some good repercussions out of that. All right. Or suffering dog. Guess I should do the eye down here first, huh? Do I own an air fryer? Yes. I love it. My second one. Cook everything in it that I can. It's the best. Got it at Costco. I'll put bacon in there and salmon and hamburgers and everything. I am lazy about cleaning it out though. Like I'll wait till a certain amount of stuff develops on the surface of it and then I'll clean it up. So yeah, definitely highly recommended. Pick up an air fryer. I don't let it get too bad, but I'll just let it, a little bit of grease will build up in there sometimes. Yeah, no gasping sounds over there, Justine. Oh yeah? Yeah, I probably should. It's just like, I have to pull it out and stick it over there and put it down. It breaks my immersion, my belief in its convenience a little bit if I have to clean it every single time. Because I cook everything on the grill on top, so it's not like things are sitting at the bottom of it or anything. It's just sitting there on top. So yeah, but I have one of those. I like them a lot. I'm surprised they didn't. People didn't come up with them sooner. I mean, they've been around a while now. Like popular at least for probably 10 years or so. But I'm just surprised it wasn't a thing earlier. I think we'll have enough time to do the bottom row of eyes. Yeah, eyes will be a good spot for some highlights on the brown paper. What's a good tutorial? A little not so much a tutorial, but diagrams of these eyes. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely check that out. One of the reasons why I started doing this, some of you probably heard it already, but I was like, I see a lot of these kind of interesting tutorials or other things kind of being posted online all the time. I'm like, well, maybe I should, take advantage of them. You know, not just let them roll on by and say like, oh, that's neat, but actually kind of formalize a way of learning from them. Not just, you know, letting them kind of scroll out of my life. Alright, now we got downward view. There's all kinds of topics out there, right, that I'm more or less sometimes familiar with. Like there's some tutorials like I want to buy and do this summer related to 3D concepting in Blender. And there's a couple of them I want to pick up in the near future. Once I get past some of this this school stuff this week. Looking down. This one's looking off to the side a little bit, but that's alright. These eyes almost feel a little bit more kind of Bruce Timm style. The way the artist here is working. It's different than how I would work. You know, I definitely prefer a little more detail, but it's still helpful. I think. Round out there the eye, some of the hair there. Alright, and then this one over here, that goes like that. Oh, I should lift that up a little bit. There we go. And then here's the actual one over here. So that one's over there, that goes up. Alright, and then more of a 3/4 view. There's definitely a trouble view right here. I definitely feel like I have trouble when I'm drawing from my head, especially drawing kind of these down shots and up shots of faces. So it's something I've been kind of practicing on my own. You know, connecting the chin underneath to the neck. Definitely a challenging kind of area to deal with. It's you know, it's a fairly unusual view, you know, kind of an upshot of someone's face like that, but I think it's worth kind of sorting out for myself. And edit eye here. Yeah, there's plenty of time here. We got another 8 minutes or so for where I normally like to be. I also like the idea of, you know, kind of drawing it twice here. So you draw like the diagrammatic view and then you draw the actual one. Um, and then side view. And she's doing these digital. I assume she feels like a lady name. I could be wrong. But, like, you know, it would probably look more accurate to the style if I were using, like, one of my brushes instead of the nib. And this is me, you, Lee. Hello, Myanmar. I think I had a student from there once. She was upset because I thought she was from India. She felt like I should know Myanmar better than I do. Like, you know, it's a big country, yeah, but, you know, she's probably the first person I ever met from there was that student. At least in real life. Nothing wrong with that, but, you know. Looks like I had only met one Afghani before. I had a student who was from there at Ringling. He had to leave early. Something's kind of weird visa issue or something was going on with him, so he didn't stick around. But today we are, for those that are uninformed, I'm working on kind of my morning study warm-ups. I like to spend about an hour on these every day, working through some kind of subject or tutorial or book or whatever. So recently I've been looking at artist tutorials that get kind of posted online by the Etherington brothers. Figure that's a good kind of curatorial place to go with. So they posted this yesterday, I think, or this morning. They're over in merry old England, so you can check the time there. But they've been posting other people's tutorials on top of their own, which is helpful for me. And so I thought I would take advantage of some of those tutorials or diagrams or whatever as a way of kind of warming up in the morning for the next little while. But yeah, sometimes I'll work from other people's books. I've got a ton of art books behind me, or photographs or other kind of sources like that. So that's what we got rolling out on this Monday morning. So that's what we got going on today. So thank you for joining in. Seems like a bunch of people have been subscribing over on the YouTube channel recently. They don't have that many subscribers, obviously. I think it's still under 500, but it seems like I've picked up more than the usual amount. You just like maybe one a day or every couple of days or something like that. Because I just live stream. I don't do any regular videos. So I think YouTube doesn't necessarily like that. But the last few days I've seen, this last week I've seen days where like there's 10, 20 people popping in all of a sudden. So that's nice to see. I don't know that it'll have any long-term value, but you know, well, it's nice to be able to kind of share the morning study with people. So this is me, you, Lee, and I've got the ink bottle open. I'll put the date on here too, which is the 12th. So we've got 25:05, 1, 2. You, Lee. All right, I'll put the dot on there just so I don't forget what letter that is. And put the ink away and get the white ink out, touch it up, and then that will be that this morning. Right, Trout House. All right, Bosch. All right, white. Good morning. I think we'll just leave it in these highlight because it does have like you know, white eyes in the images, but I think we'll just leave the highlights for the eyeballs on this one. Maybe I'll try one of these with the white around the eyes, the sclera, for those that want to know the whites of the eye. Maybe we'll try it with the side eye one. That might be okay. This kind of works with the faces here. Could be a little wetter. That's okay. There, almost done. Alright. That feels good. What do we think? So this is from me, you, Lee. Reposted by the Etherington brothers over on the Twitter. And that's today's morning study. So just in time for me to pause and get cleaned up. Hopefully we've got our meeting appropriately scheduled for this morning for university. But we'll talk to everybody later.